Okay, SNK finally graced us with a demo so we can actually try things out for ourselves, and now we have a lot of new info. The first two parts covered basic KoF knowledge and how to apply certain things like how to play neutral, how to start your offense, but now this part is going to cover the things that are new to KoF 15 or things that have changed from KoF 14. So we'll go over things like the new EX moves, how Max Mode works now, the new Shatter Strike mechanic, among a few other things. So again, this is assuming that you've already watched the first two parts because I'm going to reference them a lot in this video. Keep in mind that all of this is from betas and pre-release footage, so a few things here and there can change by the time the game releases, but overall the concept will still be the same. Okay, we'll start with what changed from the last game to KoF 15. Compared to KoF 14, the screen size is much smaller and more compact. This is similar to the older KoF games, and the idea is to emphasize neutral and to make keep away a bit harder. There's less space to move around, so getting in is easier and zoning the opponent is a bit harder. The damage overall is also higher than KoF 14. Single hits and smaller combos are a lot more damaging. This is also to bring the older KoF feel, where even pokes and simple combos took a nice chunk of damage. Backdashes in the older KoFs were a decent defensive option. You create space and you're airborne right away, avoiding lows and throws. They didn't have invincibility, but you usually take minimal damage unless the opponent went for something big. In KoF 15 though, backdashes got a small change, where now you are in counter-hit state through the entire duration, including the granted recovery in the end. This makes them a bit more risky because if the opponent goes for a meaty on your wake up, they can cancel into a special for big damage. They're still really good, it just means that you'll need to rotate through your defensive options a bit more to keep them guessing. Counter hits also got a change, mainly the counter hits against airborne opponents. Before, if you landed a counter hit normal, you got the extra counter hit damage and that's it. But in KoF 15, the counter hit normals will put the opponent in a timed juggle state, where if you're quick enough, you can combo into something else. This existed in some older KoF games, but in 15 the window feels a bit more generous. This change will mainly impact anti-air normals, because before all you got was that one hit. But now if you go for an anti-air normal and it counter hits, you can cancel into a special or even a super and you'll get a lot more damage for that anti-air normal. Another change that happened is wake up throws, and by that I mean the character waking up being able to throw you right away. In the older games, you have throw invincibility, but you also could not throw the opponent right away. This is not the case in 15 though. When you're getting up, if the opponent is close enough and you do a throw, it will immediately come out, interrupting whatever they do. I'm personally not a big fan of this change, because it means that as the attacker, you're taking a big risk trying to do a meaty against your opponent. The character waking up already has a lot of defensive options. You can still beat it in a couple of different ways, like a space crouch C or a low, but I don't like the idea of the opponent having so much space when they're getting up. Personally, I hope this changes by the time the game releases, but we'll see. And now we'll talk about the meter. This is something very important in KoF, and you have a lot of meter to play with, especially in KoF 15 because you got a lot more options to use it with. In KoF you max out at 3 bars, but that's only for your first character. Your second character goes up to 4, and your last character can max out at 5 bars. You also get a bonus bar whenever you lose a character in a match. So say if your first character dies with 2 bars, your next character will come in having 3 full bars. This was also in KoF 14, and the idea is to incentivize you to use your meter more. Because in the older games, if you happen to use meter in a round and lose it anyway, it was very punishing for the next character coming in. They're basically telling you it's okay to use some meter because even if you lose the round, your next character will get at least 1 bar back. Okay, we'll go through the uses of meter from lowest cost to highest. EX moves are back and now usable at any point in the match. In KoF 14 you could only use them during max mode, which limited a lot of their utility. In KoF 15 it costs half a bar to do an EX move. This is the first time in any KoF, as far as I know, that anything costs less than a full bar. EX moves have all sorts of different uses. Some of them are just enhancements to the regular move, adding extra damage or properties like armor. Others have extra utilities such as more range or more invincibility or extra hits, or even being a completely different move such as Kyo's half circle back kick. The regular version is a run-in attack that you can just block. However, the EX version is a close range command grab that you cannot block at all. So they add a lot of different tools into your arsenal. There's all sorts of different EX moves.
They have all sorts of uses, from zoning to anti-zoning to combo extenders to armored options, invincible moves, extra mobility, traps, etc. So exploring your character's EX moves is very important. It will expand your options and shows you what your character can really do, especially now that you can access them in neutral and don't have to be in max mode. Alright, KoF XV's main new mechanic, Shatter Strike. This is done with Fireball Forward and Blowback or CD. It has the same animation as a blowback and a weird slap sound.
This is basically an enhanced version of your blowback attack, and it costs 1 bar to do, but if you land one successfully you get half a bar back. So basically it costs half a bar, but you need to initiate it with 1 full bar, and the risk if you miss it is you lose that whole bar. It's a neat idea, but I'm not sure if that cost is gonna stay by the time the game releases. Anyway,
while the animation and range is different per character, the startup seems to be universal around 15 frames.
And they're all also very, very unsafe on block. So if you throw one out and the opponent blocks, you're out 1 full bar and you're gonna eat a full combo. This mechanic has both defensive and offensive uses. Defensively, Shatter Strike has auto guards through almost the entire animation. However, it does not start up right away, so a melee or an attack that will hit the startup is gonna beat it.
And it's also not armored through the whole animation, so it can also be tagged at the end.
It also loses to throws, so if you're close enough you can just throw them out of it. The Shatter Strike will act differently depending on whether you hit the opponent on the ground or in the air. On a grounded opponent, it causes a crumple where you can follow up with specials. But if the opponent is in the air, it causes a wall bounce. So how much damage you can get out of this depends on your character and how much more meter you're willing to spend aside from the Shatter Strike itself. Now to the offensive side, you can cancel into your Shatter Strike attack and it will cause a crumple just like the regular one. However, this will not work if you cancel it from light attacks. This is why they all have 15 frames of startup. That is the cutoff for a move to combo off of a light. If your character can go into a command normal from their lights, you can do the light into the command normal into the Shatter Strike. Now, if you cancel into the Shatter Strike, the crumple is a bit different because off of the raw crumple, you can't combo into normals. They will just flip the opponent out. But if you canceled into the Shatter Strike, that crumple is a bit different where even if you go for a normal, you can still continue a full grounded combo. This is basically a bootleg max mode option, but you cannot go into it directly from lights. Just keep in mind that any combo after the Shatter Strike itself has around 20% extra scaling added. So you can get a decent combo going, but it's gonna be scaled a lot more.
It's a very interesting mechanic and can add a lot of depth in defense and in offense. It expands your combo options if you don't have the 2 bars for max mode. And in defense, it can blow up things like sloppy hops or loose frame traps. Seeing how the meta develops with this mechanic in mind should be interesting.
Alright, and now we have the supers. These are your big flashy moves and they're your most damaging option. Their uses vary a lot depending on the character as well as the super itself. Some of them are combo extenders, some of them are combo enders. There's some anti-zoning ones as well as anti-airs. Each character has at least 2 supers and their inputs vary a lot depending on the character. These all have a blue flash behind them. They cost 1 bar to do. And then you also have EX supers or level 2 supers, and these are done with the same super input but doing 2 buns instead of 1. So with KoF super you will do double fireball motion with both punches instead of just 1 punch, and these have a red flash behind them. Level 2 supers obviously do more damage, and some of them get extra properties such as added invincibility or more range. And then you have the climax or the level 3s. These are the biggest super you have and the most expensive one, being 3 bars. These have the close-up animations and the yellow flash to indicate them. For the most part, these are all combo enders because they're so expensive, but some of them have utility such as being anti-airs or being good against projectiles. A feature that was brought back from 14 is being able to cancel supers from one into another. The canceling points and what super can cancel into what varies a lot depending on the character, but they're usually pretty generous windows. You can go from a level 1 to a level 2, or level 1 into a level 3, or even a level 2 to a level 3, as long as you're going up the scale and using a different super. So you cannot do level 1 super into a level 2 of the same super. With some supers you can't cancel them at all. This means that the combo ends here. So you'll have to test out your character and see what supers are best to start with and then canceling into what other supers.
In KoF XV, the Max Mode feels like it got bits and pieces from every other Max Mode in the older games. Max Mode is a timed power-up that has a couple different benefits, and they're all mainly related to the options that you would use your regular meter on. While you're in Max Mode, anything that costs meter will instead take a chunk off your Max Mode timer. Your EX moves will take a small chunk, Shatter Strike and guard cancels as well. And even level 1 supers, they will take a bigger chunk, but you still won't use any extra meter. Level 2 and level 3 supers, however, will take an extra bar with a big chunk of your timer. Level 2 supers will still keep you in max mode, but level 3 supers will end it right away. This is how you do the big cancels from a level 1 super to a level 2 to a level 3. But you will need basically the full timer of the max mode to use this. Now, just like before, max mode has two different ways to use it. You can do it raw, or you can do a quick max where you cancel into the max mode off of a normal. The main difference here is the size of the timer. If you do a raw max mode, you will get a much bigger timer, where if you do a quick max, you will get half of that. The idea here is that you're not guaranteed anything. You still have to earn the hit if you want to do big damage. Quick max though, you get a guaranteed combo after, so you'll get less time in max mode. But there's also another difference between the two. Raw max mode will give you 20% damage boost on your attacks and on your guard damage. This will make even the basic combos hurt a lot more. And if you've seen any footage of KoF 15 where they go for the touch of death, this is how they do them. You do a raw activation into a jump in into a full combo. It's practical in theory, but the opponent will be a lot more alert once they see you do the raw activation. Quick max gets half the timer of the regular max mode, but once you do the cancel, you'll get a small freeze and then your character will start to auto run. This is to help you confirm your combo and get the max damage possible. And unlike Shatter Strike, you can do this off of lights and still get a full combo. Sadly, the max mode bypass, which we talked about in part 2, does not seem to exist in KoF 15. But with the extra screen freeze that they added, I don't think it's really necessary. It seems like you can go into combos from almost anything much easier than before.
Max mode overall is still very useful in KoF 15, but because it's more expensive being 2 bars, learning how to use things like EX moves and Shatter Strike instead of max mode being your go-to is going to be important. But it's still very strong and very, very useful.
Okay, this is a small part, but I wanted to cover a few things that I noticed a lot of different newcomers struggled with during the betas, and that is the cancel windows into specials or from specials into supers, and the supers into super cancels. And again, I want to emphasize the hold trick and how important this is. Almost any of these issues would have been solved if they just did the hold trick. During a special or a super, if you do the input and hold the button instead of just pressing it, the game buffers that whole command and keeps repeating it. So whatever cancel you're trying to do, instead of trying to do it right at the exact spot where it's going to be a small window, you do it a bit earlier and hold the button when you do the special. I get that a lot of the cancels need specific timing, but if you do the whole trick, all of them become much easier. It's a bit weird to get used to at first, but I promise you this is something that's worth it if you plan on playing KoF 15. And the other thing that I saw a lot is, how do I play defense? The idea is that you cannot just stay there and block the whole time waiting for the magical opening to show up. You need to play active defense. If you notice high-level KoF play, they don't just stand there when they're on the defensive. They will usually throw out a normal or two while they're backing out or closing in, or do neutral hops, or just do a small hop forward with a CD or a big button. The idea here is that you need to create some sort of obstacle so the opponent cannot just rush you down. Offense in this game is very fast and it's very strong. Just staying there and trying to block everything is usually a bad idea. You'll eventually get opened up, especially against a grappler, where any sort of hesitation means you're gonna get command grabbed. Even if you're not 100% sure they're gonna approach or how, they cover a lot of different things. Doing a stand jab will cover you if they happen to do a hop. Doing a far D, depending on your character, can stop hops or their run-in, or if they pressed a button. Doing crouch Bs will stop their running attempts. So yeah, be more active. Even if you're not sure what they're gonna do something like a quick stand A or a crouch B. Use their hops more, be it neutral hops or back hops, and mixing all these kind of options so that you'll keep the opponent guessing. They cannot just assume that you're gonna sit there, so they just run in and throw or do a hop for free. Okay, with this I think we covered everything that needs to be covered for KoF 15. But if you think I missed something, do let me know. There's still a few videos I have in mind, and the character overviews are gonna come soon. Just be aware that these are not full guides because we don't have the game yet, but these will show you what the character can do and give you a better idea of their key moves, what their specials do, what their game plan looks like. And then once the game drops, we'll go into more specific guides and how to do the combos and things like that. But that's it, and if you're still watching, do let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you soon. Peace!